Oh, you're very welcome.
Hi, Kristen. Hi, Steve.
You've got some.
Yeah.
It was a pretty.
Hi. All right. So
Memorial will be in a little bit. You're going to announce
all right, if you guys are ready, we're going to start since Courtney's going to be late, Maury's going to be late, Betsy's not here tonight. So you would start recording.
Recording in progress.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Good evening and welcome to the May 3rd meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. Section 40 of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 allows for the continuation of remote meetings. As such, this meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast on cable channel 15 and streamed online by FCTV. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. I'd like to thank our staff for their continued support and their diligence assisting all the applicants. At the moment, we are missing a couple of commissioners, but we have a quorum, so we're going to move along. I'd like to remind you guys that for commenting, I'll call on each of you at the appropriate time, so we're not speaking over each other, and that the votes are all be done by roll call. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. If you'd like to be heard on a specific hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct, and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw apply to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the act and/or the bylaw do not apply. Therefore, the project may proceed as proposed. However, a positive determination means that the provisions of the act and/or the bylaw do in fact apply. Therefore, the project would require a notice of intent application. So as an applicant, you really want to hear a negative determination. And for anyone waiting for a particular hearing tonight, so that you're not waiting unnecessarily, the following hearing is expected to be continued, and that is 34 Wigwam. So that out of the way, first up is vote minutes, April 3rd, 2023. Anyone?
Mr. Chair, I have read the minutes and would like to move that we accept them as written.
Second, O'Brien.
That was Freitag moving. Sorry.
All right. We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as submitted. Any questions or comments, Melissa?
Quick question. This was the short meeting that we had just to do one
Order conditions.
Or yeah, thank you. Order of conditions. Do we who vote on it have to have been there? I don't think we have a quorum for that, do we? I think I was read in for that. Kevin and I think I read in Kevin because you weren't going to
Right.
be there, but
Yeah, I think for the sake of the
think you're
minutes, I
right.
think this quorum is fine.
okay.
Jen,
But
you feel otherwise?
can Kevin second it since he wasn't at the meeting?
Yeah.
Um,
Steve can second it.
Was Steve at the meeting?
Well, it's still a
Oh.
question of, I mean, we're just accepting minutes. I mean, if it's easier, let's just table it to next week.
table it
next
till next
meeting.
week.
All right.
I won't be at next week's meeting though.
That's okay. We'll have enough votes. We'll double check the quorum on that one. Who was present? Who does it say who was present in the minutes? I don't have.
Yeah, I've
them in front of me.
already filed them away.
I was there.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah.
Oh, then the three of us can approve the minutes. You, me, and Jamie.
Well, I.
Now
gave
we need
them- 4.
Oh, but there were only four of us
Alright.
at the meeting.
All right. Tabled.
Okay, I
Table.
move that
We'll
we
move
table
on.
it. I'll revoke my motion.
All right. How about the next one, April 19th?
Mr. Chair, I have read the minutes and I would like to approve them as written. It's Freitag, please.
Okay. Steve, you're mute. Off mute, unmute. Oh,
Yeah, no. I didn't attend this meeting, Mr. Chairman, so
all right, so we're
I'll
gonna table
second
this
it.
too.
I'll revoke my motion.
Yeah. It's a formality. I mean, we'll table them. We'll pick them up another time.
Mr. Chair, perhaps we can pick them up later on in the meeting out of order because then once other people show up, we can do it.
Yeah,
Because I
we'll
won't be
see.
here to do the third next week.
Yep. All right. Next up, request for determination of applicability. First up, Clancy Construction, 156 Associates Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reconstruct a roof deck and front porch in the same footprint. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Anyone?
So move,
So move.
Freitag will move. We accept the RDA as
Recommendation?
Yeah.
Okay,
as recommended.
O'Brien second.
thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Any questions or comments? All right. Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa,
Freitag, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, David Stoller, 5 Harrisburg Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, RAZE, an existing single-family dwelling, construct a new single-family home with an attached garage and porches, pump dry, fill and abandon an existing cesspool, install a new Title V sewage disposal system, conduct minor grading, and install dry wells. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project is solely located in an AE flood zone.
I'll move that we accept staff's recommendation. Freitag.
Pat and second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Any questions or comments?
No.
All right, Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa,
Freitag, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, 34 Abby's Lane LLC, 34 Abby's Lane, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to abandon the existing cesspool and install a new IA sewage disposal system. Ms. Bergeron,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
So I'll move that we accept staff's recommendation. It's Freitag.
O'Brien,
And-
second.
all right,
When do you
We
guys have to
have
move
them.
the next one?
Jen, do you have something?
No.
Oh, that's how you go. You're just saying hi, cool. All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. It's gonna be one of those nights, folks. All right, any questions or comments? All right, Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Melissa,
Freitag, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up is a continued request for determination of applicability. Robert Kelly and Raymond Dively, 118 Clinton Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise, RAZE, an existing garage, upgrade the existing sewage disposal system, reconfigure the driveway, and construct additions, a garage, a pool house, and a pool with patio and a fence. Ms. Bergeron,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project is solely located in an AE flood zone.
Move staff, accept staff's recommendations. Patton,
Freitag, second.
O'Brien, second. Oh,
I like that competition. All right, we have a motion and a bunch of seconds to accept staff's recommendation. Any questions or comments? All right, Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Melissa,
Freitag, aye.
Steve? Steve, you're on mute.
Steve's not even saying anything.
Pat and I.
Thank you. I normally look to read lips, but because it's on Zoom, we kind of want it official. All right, next up are requests for hearing under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes. So I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw, and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, 60 Kerry Lane LLC, 60 Kerry Lane, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct invasive species management and restoration and to vista prune according to FWR 10.18 10B. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Mark Dibb up from Cape and Islands and Matthew Lottenberger from Wilkinson to present their projects.
Excellent. Mr. Dibb, you're up, sir.
Good evening, Mark Dibb with Cape and Islands Engineering, and also Matthew Lottenberger on the line with Wilkinson Ecological Design. The project tonight is located at 60 Kerry Lane in Falmouth. With your permission, I'm going to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
So as the project noted, we are seeking approval via notice of intent for invasive species management at the site, coastal bank buffer restoration, and a vista corridor plan. The site is at Kerry Lane. It's a approximate 1.68 acre lot. On the parcel, in the upland portion of the parcel, is a tennis court, turnaround driveway, existing dwelling, a detached garage. In the area where the work is being performed, the property has a kind of an odd shape, but it does slope down towards Buzzards Bay. resource areas on the site include the land on the ocean, land containing shellfish, up a coastal bank, and then your buffer zones are shown on the plan as well. Basically, at this point, I'm going to give it over to Matt Lautenberger to describe Wilkinson Ecological's design for the project.
Thanks, Mark. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's
Okay.
all right with everyone.
I think I have to stop sharing here. Hang on.
Okay. All right, everyone can see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the plan itself is relatively simple. There's invasive species on site that we're proposing to manage. I'm going to go right into the staff comments point by point. The staff has concerns about the proposed flush cutting. So just to specify, in case there's any confusion over where we're proposing the flush cutting, there's specifically a previously pruned cherry tree over here that we're proposing. And then we'd also be proposing the previously pruned bushes that are in the view corridor. We wouldn't be flush cutting anything that was outside the view corridor. And the specific reason for doing this is that it would give the plants a chance to regrow. Right now, they're very block-like. All of the vegetation's up at the top of the plant due to years of just kind of regular pruning. And flush cutting it would give it a chance to regrow and have a natural, healthier biomass. I'll keep moving through the staff comments and then we'll do questions at the end, or should we, do you want to talk about that point right now?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Keep rolling.
Proposed plantings should be a 2 to 3 gallon size. We accept that. That's fine. Shrubs outside the Vista corridor are not to be managed at any height. They are to grow into their full mature form. No pruning is to occur without permission from the Conservation Commission. Again, that sounds like a very reasonable condition. The land management plan states that approximately 20% of the project area is heavily invaded, but seems the plantings are proposed in more than 20% of the area. So the exact location of all of the invasives is obviously a little hard to show on the plan, but the biggest chunk of invasives are right here. And this is a pretty small chunk of the overall project, maybe less than 10%. That other, 10 to 11% is sort of scattered all throughout this area. Trees were put in areas that were, sorry, not trees, shrubs were placed in areas where there were already some gaps. And then for the most part, the placement of the shrubs is really just determined by where can we get them enough room that they aren't crowding each other out. So moving on to the next comment. The staff recommends that the sweet fern is replaced with another species and that the cherry tree is no longer managed. So the sweet fern that's here is actually behind a cement wall. There's a brick wall or a stone wall is blocking it off from the lawn. This area in no way would be mowed ever, so the sweet ferns aren't in any danger of being accidentally trampled or anything. And we do include them in most of our designs because they are an important habitat plant. If the Conservation Commission thought that it was advisable to put more habitat plants in here, we could also do some plugs of milkweed in order to create some, those two plants together are what a lot of caterpillars need in order to both feed and then move on into their chrysalis stage. So that's one possible suggestion we might think about. Staff recommends that an on-site is required for a vista pruning prior to work beginning. It's a totally reasonable condition. There are 4 plantings with an X on the plan. What is proposed for removal there and why? So that is these 3 dots that are in the view corridor here, and then this dot right here on the edge of the view corridor. Those are oak saplings that, if left unmanaged, would eventually need, they would basically necessitate that the clients had to go into the view corridor regularly in order to maintain the view. We suggest removing them and replacing them with shrubs that can be allowed to naturalize and grow to their full height and there won't need to be ongoing disturbance in terms of going in and pruning them. So that is our sort of response to the staff comments. I guess I'll take a break for questions now.
Thank you, Matthew. You can stop sharing. Jen, you want to start?
Yes, thank you, Matthew. Matthew, we'll have to have the plan revised because thank you for going through the staff reports point by point. That was helpful. But in the area where you have the flush cut shrubs to be flush cut and be maintained to the height of 6 feet, when we went to staff comment number 4 about shrubs outside the vista not to be managed to any height, it's because in that area, you have that 8 foot. So we just kind of want that note taken
Yeah,
out.
when we come back to you with another updated plan, we'll split that into 2 different management
be great,
areas with
because,
separate. Yeah.
And then the 8 feet height on the shrubs on the other, when you're pruning them, just take that off.
Okay.
Okay. And I was reading something while you were talking about the cherry. What's the point of managing the cherry to 8 feet in height?
So
Again,
right now the
size.
cherry is very beaten up. When it grows in, it's very patchy. The nice thing about cherries when you flush cut them is they spring back right away. And we've seen multiple examples of this. Is something we do pretty regularly, where the cherry can get as high as 4 feet in a single growing season. And I actually have some pictures of that if anyone's interested in that. And it'll just provide that area. It'll function more as habitat and as a tree should be functioning in the environment when it has a chance to be flush cut and then regrow like that. Because right now it is sort of sickly.
Understandable, but again, you have managed to a height of 8 feet. And it's
Oh,
outside.
I
the
see. That was
vista.
your question.
That's the comment.
There.
So
Okay.
we want the tree to function as a tree and not a managed shrub bush. So
It is close to the view corridor. So would they have the option to prune it if it started growing into the view corridor?
that's something we can address when and if it starts growing into the view corridor.
Fair enough.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that the sweet fern is behind that wall. That is one of our issues with sweet fern, is it's easily mowable when it's first planted. So as long as there's steps to protect that, that's fine if you want to use it as kind of an interspersed ground cover in your planting area. And if the board changes the species up and they don't want this to be burned, that's fine too. I think that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
Who's here?
Ms. Bergeron?
Thank you. Just 2 points. Matt, it looks like there are still 3 sweet fern along the path past the stone wall, so the commission may want to see at least those 3 changed to a different species or swapped with, another one that's behind the wall.
I think we could definitely swap them so that there's a larger species in between.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. And my other question is about these saplings proposed for removal. Have those been managed over the years? Or are they relatively, structurally intact?
They've definitely been cut at some point. There's no question about that. So they've been a bit stunted in that way. But it would, I think without any sort of intervention, they would eventually get pretty big.
Okay, because in our Vistaprint regulations, we do allow for some sapling removal, but not necessarily all sapling removal. It would be a shame if that whole area was devoid of any tree matter, but that would be up to the commission to decide if those can be removed and replaced with lower growing material. That's everything. Thank you.
All right. Courtney, did you come in at the beginning? You're on mute.
It is worth mentioning that there are a number of trees on site just outside of the view corridor. So once the area isn't being, once we're leaving that area left to grow, you're still going to have a lot of trees in this on the property. So we definitely aren't recommending to remove every sapling on the project area.
All right, Courtney.
Yeah, what I was going to
you-
say is I came in at the end of the presentation, so I don't feel, unless you absolutely need me on the quorum, it probably isn't appropriate for me to be on it.
Okay, that's all I wanted to clarify. Thank you for that. All right. So I'm going to have you stay not on the quorum. All right, Kevin.
I guess basically I'm left with the feeling that there's still a lot that has to, I assume you're gonna request a continuance, because it sounds as though there's still some outstanding differences between what you think is appropriate and what staff thinks appropriate. Is that fair?
Based on our conversation so far, there are a number of corrections we need to make to the plan. We could continue it if you all believe that's the most appropriate thing, rather than, I guess, approving it. Different towns do it differently. Some towns you'd approve it based on those conditions, pending on those conditions. But if that's the way we want to go, that's fine.
If there are a few conditions or a few differences, that might be something, but this sounds like there are several.
Yeah.
So
They are substantive, so absolutely.
thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Melissa.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Matt, for walking us through this. It's a lovely spot. I've a couple of questions for you though, and I'll start with the oak trees that Alyssa had mentioned. You mentioned that they're little saplings, but those 3 together, I'd say those are each 4-inch trees. I know they're all crooked and windblown and also pruned and affected over the years. And then the one just outside of the Vista corridor, sort of on the corner there near the flagpole or at the entrance on the right, that's easily a 6-7 inch caliper inch tree. But it's short because it's been hacked a lot over the years. And first of all, that tree is not in the Vista corridor. I'd like to see that one stay. And we have this habit here of when you take out trees that have substantial or quasi-substantial trunks, we like to see trees being planted. So if you really need to take out those 3 4-inch trees, I'd like to see at least something be proposed to compensate for them. And yeah, it is fairly treed. It's, scrubby, windblown bluff with lots of cedars. It would be, I noticed in the notes that, we were talking about actually having an on-site before the vista pruning. And I think those 3 oaks should stay there, at least until the on-site is going on. But my guess is that they might have difference of opinion from you and your client about them. But the 6-inch tree, I'd like to see stay. And also further off to the, is that north? Yeah, northeast on the property over by the flagpole. You have a comment, mulch bed behind flagpole to be reseeded and planted with native woody and herbaceous species. Please define native woody and herbaceous species for us.
Our planting plan is, the shrubs that are there are what would be planted there in addition to the grass cover that we use.
The shrubs that are there. So you have 8 inkberry. But I mean, you have an extra comment on it that says it would be planted with native woody and herbaceous species. So just, and you've got a whole bunch of little pluses, which indicate, I don't know, existing landscape beds. I mean, they're just beds. So, I mean, that comment suggests to me that you're going to be filling in the landscape beds with, I don't know, with something.
Shrubs.
Yeah.
We'd be putting the shrubs down and then we'd be putting the native grass mix that we use down.
So which shrubs? The 8 inkberry? Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
I guess I'm just confused because there's one spot that's circled for 8 inkberry, and then the native woody and herbaceous species seems to refer to the rest of the area that's mulched and.
I think that was just the wording used to show that that area was currently a planting and was being converted to native. If you'd like us to change the wording on that, if it seems too vague, we could do that.
Just wondering what your woody species would be that would go in there. I mean, I understand, some kind of, you said you have a native seed mix that you throw in?
Yeah, I think that was a reference to the shrubs, the inkberry.
Yeah. Well, the inkberry has its own reference. That's why I'm wondering if there's something other than inkberry.
I think
Jen.
it's just a little confusing the way the plan is drawn,
Oh.
where you have the circles overlying where you're calling out your mulch bed. So maybe kind of labeling that in a different way that's a little clearer for the commission, I think would be helpful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks. And then I love milkweed. If you can stick some milkweed in there, that would be great too. Somewhere near the ferns, I guess, or wherever you have extra spots. But I was just, those oak trees, I think at least the 6-inch one that's freestanding towards the front, that's been hacked to bits over the years, but still is, it's a good sized tree. Yes.
I mean,
tree.
as the plan is now, that
Yeah.
oak tree, which as you've said, has been hacked to bit, and I believe after measurement, it is still a sapling according to the state definition. We would be replacing that with bayberry, which again, the reasoning behind that is that the clients wouldn't have to return to the view corridor repeatedly and disturb the site by cutting and end up in kind of the same situation.
Well,
So
the trees that I'm suggesting that you replace the oak calipers with don't have to be in the Vista corridor. They can be elsewhere.
Oh, yeah, I understand that. I'm just talking about the 6-inch one that's next to the Vista corridor.
Yeah, it's next to it, but it's not in it. So, I mean, if the Vista corridor were to move, that would be an obvious something. So it's Jen and Alyssa, maybe when you're out there with them, you can make note of those trees for us. please. Thank you. And then, yeah, so, and you've worked out.
But
not
it
limiting
sounds
to
like
80
you're
feet.
saying the 4 saplings would need to be replaced with other saplings.
With
similar
something,
to the site. Okay,
yeah, I mean, they're, you call them saplings, I call them, the 3 of them 4-inch trees, and the larger one a 6-inch tree. That's, I don't consider 6 inches a sapling. But, and I don't think the state does either. I mean,
okay.
it's pretty big. But, yeah, I mean, we have, I'll leave it to Jen and Alyssa to chime in on that when they're out there doing the Vista corridor. Good, thanks. I look forward to seeing an update. That's it, Jamie.
Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Matthew, for being, following your, I liked your presentation, going through the staff's comments. It helped me address some of the issues that I had, and of course, staff asked the questions ahead of time. So I don't have any additional questions. It is an interesting site, but you haven't touched the areas that are of interest to me as abutters. So I think the plan's solid.
Yeah. All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat. If we do continue this, we're gonna have to invoke the Mullen rule, and either Courtney or Maury will need to watch the hearing and then be part of the quorum, because Melissa will not be here in 2 weeks. Is that correct, Melissa? Yeah. So,
And Melissa, you're not gonna be at the next 2 meetings, correct?
yeah.
Okay.
So we don't have a meeting next week.
Do you think there's enough to continue this?
Well, we have just the clarification, we have to change the height notes on the plan to remove those 8 feet height notes.
And we will have to talk to the clients about the trees too. So continuance is definitely appropriate. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So
All right.
then we come over to when are we going to continue this?
Maury, did you have something?
I did see almost the entire hearing, but not the opening of it, just FYI.
Okay, so we would just ask that you watch the opening then, so that,
I will.
you know, just to make it official. But it sounds like we want a continuance anyway, so I just want all that clarified, that's all. So Mark, I think I'm gonna put it on you to officially request a continuance. No offense, Matt.
That's quite all right.
Yes, we would like to continue to the next hearing. It's fine.
So, Mr. Chairman, the next hearing, we have 3, that'll be the May 17th hearing, because we do not have a hearing next week. We do have a number of RDAs. We have 3 new notices, and we're going to have 4 continuances. This would be the 5th, with 1 continuance not having been opened. So it would be almost 4 new notices and 4 continues. But I don't think that this will take very long. I think Matthew understands what the staff is looking for, and we can work. Yeah, obviously, if we have any notes, when we see the plan, we'll get them to Wilkinson as soon as possible if we have any concerns. But I think this should go fairly easy. So I'm comfortable with the 17th now that I'm talking about.
Okay. So Matt, the pressure will be on you to address everything, and we can make this short and sweet next time.
Okay. Yep.
You know, if there's nothing, if there's something that isn't clear, just, you know, put a phone call in and.
Yeah, I believe it's very clear. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right, Jen, so you have, I'm sorry, you said the 17th will work?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so the applicant is requesting a continuance till 5/17, so I would entertain a motion and a second to that effect.
Make a motion to continue this until May 17th.
Thank you.
Patton second.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second to continue this until May 17th. And Maureen's going to look at the beginning of the meeting, that the part that she missed, and then we'll invoke the Mullen Rule and we'll have quorum. And Matt's going to exhort his superpowers and have everything all ready. So with that in mind, we're voting for the continuance 5/17. Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Melissa?
Fragile guy.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
Thank you. It's unanimous with this particular quorum. We continue this till 5/17. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, I'm gonna put you, whoop, he put himself right back in.
All right, so for the record, Courtney's in the meeting. He came in, but it was in the middle of that hearing. And Moria's in the meeting and came in just after the opening of that. Well, I have them down as in the meeting at 7:20 and 7:29 respectively. Next up, Jeffrey P. and Cynthia A. Andrews, 34 Wigwam Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reconfigure the existing driveway, install a Title V sewage disposal system, install drainage, construct retaining walls, conduct invasive species management and restoration, install DCPC restoration plantings, and all associated clearing, grading, and landscaping. I think, Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until May 17th.
Bird, so move.
Carlo Hawk, second.
All right. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until 5/17. Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawk's aye.
Melissa?
Fragile guy.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
With our new and updated quorum, we have, it is unanimous. We will continue this to 5/17. Next up, Sandra L. Stows and Robert J. Volpe Jr. Sandra L. Stows Trust, 115 Lucerne Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a one-car garage, reconfigure the driveway, install drainage, reconstruct a retaining wall and steps, and install mitigation plantings. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I promoted Tom Bunker up, who declined to become a panelist, and then I had to, I'm watching, I can see on my end, Tom, it was like declined to become panelist, rejoining as panelist when you realized I was continuing that next one. Tom Bunker from BSS Design is here to present.
I'm picking on my buddy.
Just
Mr. Bunker, you're up, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Just look at mine, seems to say it's muted, but you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Yeah, the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design, and we prepared this filing for Bob Volpe and Sandra Stows. And if I may, I will share my screen and show you what we're thinking about.
Yes, sir.
And so this property, as shown in the locus map and described in the narrative, is at the northeast corner of the intersection of Alma Road and Lucerne Avenue. It's this property right here. It fronts on Little Pond, toward the upper reaches of Little Pond, where it's slightly tidal still. They have as described there. They have this lot here, which was historically part of the house lot. And at some time 5 or so years ago, maybe a little longer, this vacant lot was added to the property. That was when it came up that this subdivision up here, Helmus Circle, or this land was being subdivided, so they acquired this piece as a sort of a buffer. And it's noted by the staff that there has been cutting going on there, cutting and some grading and things going on in this wooded part. I could tell you that Mr. Volpe is he's quite interested in native plants, the natural community, and he also is quite active in cutting out bittersweet and other non-native. So there are paths and such cut through there, but it was really for in his opinion, for the betterment of the project. Although cutting was done in there without permission, and the staff has comments on that. So we'll get to that. Let me see, get the other. So then we have this. So we didn't. I was aware. He showed me around some of this area. I wasn't aware of everything that was going on in there, but aware that he was cutting vines. It was not, in my mind, it was not part of this project, but it is some work, unpermitted work on the property. But anyway, what the project here was filed to accomplish was to construct a one-car, fairly awkwardly shaped one-car garage here. It's trimmed off. It's a little extra narrow here for zoning reasons, and it's trimmed off here to not go closer to the existing house. This corner would have brought it about 2 feet closer. It's cut off about 2.5 feet. It is cut off at this corner in each direction. So that was cut off there. Proposed here, and part of this garage actually will take up some of this porch, which will be trimmed back by 2 feet. And the driveway will be rebuilt with currently the water flows through. There's been some subsidence. You can see the pavement is in poor condition. There's water that flows down from Lucerne Avenue down this hill. There is a drain in this location, but that has somewhat failed. So it fills up and spills over. If you went there, you probably saw some sort of spillways going down toward Little Pond here. The proposal, I can show you a little better in this enlargement. This shows the coverages in that the garage is going to be built over, partly over the existing pavement. This area is currently not paved, so this is all new coverage here, and this new coverage here. There are some cobblestones here, so we're counting that as about 50% of that area could be counted as coverage. The point of this also is to show that we're installing a new drain here. There'll be the driveway will be done either with pavement or possibly with paving blocks, all of which would be counted as impervious in a zone A. And we'll put an edge on it to catch water, and this will be the new low point of the driveway here, which will catch the water and go into a couple of these low infiltrator, quick for infiltrators with stone around them to drain. And also will be connected. I think on the other one, it'll be connect to the drains from the garage roof will go into these also. This area through here currently, it's a retaining wall in a flood zone, so it's considered a coastal bank, and he wants to rebuild that retaining wall. So this technically is work on a coastal bank, but you've seen, I have a picture, but the wall is pulling away from the house at this corner, and there's, sediment going through. So it will make it more stable, coastal bank, and it'll be set back instead of one tall wall at this corner. It'll go up, I think, halfway up, about 3.5 feet up, and then there's the next section of wall will be set back another 3 feet with planting in the terrace in between them. So the coverage calculations are for this, and a little bit to square off the driveway. I think I included the second tier of the wall and also the generator, which hadn't been on there before. So I included all those items in the mitigation calculations. The generator, the driveway. So I have 403 square feet required, and so it's shown 412. We had suggested 4 feet on center. I understand that staff wants the 3 feet, but we have that spread out along the shore here. I can go through a couple of the staff comments. There is a sandy area here, and some of these things were there before Bob Volpe and Sandra were involved in this, but staff recommends to restore this as lawn. It is currently, he says, it's a snapping turtle nursery. They come up there every spring to lay their eggs. So it does, in a way, it serves an environmental purpose to have that sand there. And I mentioned about some of the other things where he had been, he likes to nurture plants, transplant them from other places and put them in here. So it is kind of an active area. I think we will have to have the meeting with staff on the site to go over it. Unfortunately, they're out of the country right now, but I think they're out this entire week. We'll be back next week. And the several points that he made by a long distance email, that he would like to have those grasses. He feels like the grasses are very good. Very good. The root system of those grasses are very good at holding the soil to reduce any erosion along here. The grasses. They would like to put the mitigation inland of the grasses. If we can leave that, but these are things that I think we can discuss with staff on the site. There are a couple other things about the trees. Again, he had said that it's how the property was when he got it, which I know happens to a lot of people. He wasn't aware, and I wasn't aware of some of these items that are in the staff report. So I will have to request a continuance because there are things here that I can't address at the moment. But I'll make notes as we go through staff comments. I'll take this down, take your comments, and then we'll get on with the continuance.
Thank you, sir. Ken?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So you're suggesting, Tom, that we continue this out towards the end of May so we can meet with your clients, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that's to address the little garden area and the clearing and the ornamental grasses. I think the ornamental grasses should be removed in that area, planted with shrubs. And if they wanted deep-rooted native grasses, that's, behind the shrubs, and they wanted to put some amorpha in along the top of that wall, I'm fine with that. If the area is being used by a snapping turtle, maybe we can put plants in front of it, put a little fence, like a little single rail fence. I don't know, but I'd have to go out and look at it. I know
Yeah.
Melissa's been out there to do the field work. So I think there are certain things we do need to discuss, especially the managing of that adjacent property. As far as the garage, I don't have any concerns, Mr. Chairman. Like I said, I believe that the ornamental grasses need to be removed and that native shrub layer go along the top of that wall, but that's something we can discuss with the applicant if they really want to discuss it with us. And then I think that we just need to be able to address the clearing on that other property.
Right.
And Tom, do you have your BVW sheets? Who did your wetland line?
No, we did that ourselves. I thought it was, I mean, especially if we're gonna have to look at the other side, then we'll have to do that, but I felt it was far enough away. We did have something from LEC saying that where the work was proposed, there was no BVW. But there is BVW toward the so-called new area, you know, beyond the snapping turtle nursery.
Yeah, and did they combine those two lots? I missed that at the beginning.
They are combined, yes.
They are combined, okay, so it's one property, so I'll have
Yes.
to look at the property. Okay, well, we can meet with you next week sometime, Tom.
Right.
And discuss it, all right. I mean, that's all I have for now, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Ms. Bergeron.
Thank you. I think the only other point worth bringing up now, Tom, just for the commission to discuss is just that lone tree. I don't know what happened to it. I don't have any record if it died, fell, was removed. I'm not really sure. Completely understand that the northern part of the property is now part of this and it's very wooded. But just looking on the southern part of the property, I think there was one tree, you know, in the A zone. So I think it'd just be up to the commission if they'd like to see that tree replaced in some capacity. But that's my only comment. Thank you.
Could I say one thing? He tell me, I'm gonna see what well, in his email to me today, Bob said there is an old stump in the pond and based on the remaining root structure, I assume the tree fell from erosion. Like, you know, he can show that the stump is there in the water. And they said there's a different stump in the final photo. That's an old stump that I stood back up to provide something for the woodpeckers to work on. But anyway, he's aware of stumps there, and
Okay.
one might have fallen over from erosion. We don't know.
Okay, good to know. I didn't recognize this tree when I went in the field. It's something I realized after, so I didn't look for that stump. But that's something we can look at when we go in the field. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tom, you are such the naturalist, providing woodpecker habitat, turtle nursery. That's a new one. That's precedent setting.
Turtle nursery is a new one. You can thank Bob for that, but Bob is a naturalist, and I know he's done, like I said, he's done some things there, but it's really, I mean, he's done the cutting, whatever, with best intentions. But we'll talk about that.
Sure. All right. Commissioner comments. Courtney.
No comments.
All right. Kevin.
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Maury.
I'm just glad to see that a piece of property was purchased to keep it as open space next to that huge development. And no comments after that, and we'll see you at the next hearing.
Melissa.
Yeah, I'll echo what Maury just said about abutting or keeping the buffer between them and the development. And I think I like the snapper turtle thing, the habitat. That's lovely. And I do also do the woodpecker thing too. So no comments. The garage looks fine to me, but I look forward to seeing this whole thing revised in a couple of weeks.
All right. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciated Tom's presentation today. I was a little concerned about where the property lines were, and the garage itself presented absolutely no issues for me, but I understand we ought to take a look at the rest of that property as well as what the developer's doing on the abutter.
All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
There is nothing in the public chat regarding this project, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Tom, you have a request for us?
Well, I do have a request. I'll have to see. I mean, I think he'll be back, the weekend or something. And so if we can meet on the week of, next week from 10th through 12th, then sound like you have questions about the 17th, but is the 24th available? So we can meet on that around the 10th or the 12th and get some stuff in by the 17th and resume the hearing on the 24th.
Sounds fine. So that works.
Okay. I'll request the continuance as such, 3 weeks.
All right.
Second.
I'm sorry, who motioned?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman. Patton.
Thank you.
Carlo Hawk, second.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until 5:24. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, we'll vote. Courtney?
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawk's aye.
Melissa?
Prescott, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this till 5:24. Thank you, Mr.
All
Bunker.
right. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
I'll be back in a couple.
Yep, I'm gonna put you back in attendees right now.
Okay.
All
Don't
right,
decline.
next up. Next up is Town of Falmouth, 0 Catherine Lee Bates Road, which is for this application, Shiver's Pond, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a sidewalk, ADA compliant deck walkway, viewing platform, and a seasonal kayak launch. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am promoting Gabrielle Belfit and Eric Ohanian from Time Bond, as well as Jed Cornett, the town planner. And I think we call Jed our project manager on this, to present the Shiver's Pond improvement. What are we calling this? Access improvements. Project funded by CPC.
Good evening. I'm going to do a little introduction to the project, and I thank you for introducing Eric, who's a structural engineer on the project, and Jed as well, who can speak to any of the town concerns. So I did think it would be good to just do a little bit of brief history on how this project was identified. There was a 300 committee study a number of years ago that looked at a wide range of improvements for Shiver's ponds with goals of improving habitat, water quality, and public access. And from that study, vista clearing, stormwater improvements, and a public access pier were among some of the top recommendations to achieve those goals. So the town then pursued a Community Preservation Act grant to fund design and permitting of this public access pier, which is the project we're presenting tonight. We have a town team that includes the town planner, Jed, DPW, Jim McLaughlin, and Conservation Commission, who've reviewed alternatives and the current layout for your consideration tonight. So I can share my screen and present. Is that, oh, gotta hit one more button. There. So I'm sharing the screen here, which is showing the layout of the project here. This is right across from the parking lot, the town parking lot off of Catherine Lee Bates Road, and the National Bank. At the entrance where the sign is, it used to have a sign up 300 committee, and I believe the sign is, what does the sign say there? Just to take, I can't remember what the sign says other than the 300 committee. So it's currently, this is a grassed pathway right now, which leads to the ball fields. The town did complete Vista clearing along this area here and here. And the idea is to construct a paved pathway leading up to the proposed timber structure, which is constructed on helical piles. The portion that is overland here is going to be solid decking. And then as we get into the water portion, this is going to be piles with a flow through decking on it so that the sunlight penetrates through and minimizes any impacts to the water flow. I believe that I think I should turn it over to Eric for any further discussion on the structure and on I guess our proposed construction techniques. So Eric, if you want to jump in.
Sure. So as Gabrielle mentioned, helical piles are proposed, which I guess reduces the amount of impacts and excavation that would be involved with the construction of the project. Those would be between the spans of the helical piles, there would be timber stringers, and then timber decking over the land, and then the through flow decking over the water areas. There is also a proposed future kayak launch area located to the north. That's in the dashed area. That would have a floating portion of dock along with a movable gangway that would be anchored at the top and the bottom. And then an HMA hot mix asphalt pathway connecting those two structures to the main roadway and sidewalk area.
So I don't know if you want to see a cross section of, we could show you what that looks like if that's of interest. But I guess otherwise I would open it up for comments.
Okay, you can stop sharing, please.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Jed, do you have anything you'd like to add before we open up to commissioner comments and staff comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Jed Cornock, Town Planner. No, I have no additional comments to add at this time.
Okay. I want to throw the opportunity out there. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So kind of to follow up on Gabrielle's introduction, I first started talking about a pier in this area over 8 years ago with Paul Dreyer, who is on the planning board and was a member of the Coastal Resiliency Action Committee, I think 8 years ago. I see Paul is in our attendees list listening and on our conversation. I think him and I stood where the dam is right now, where people fish off of, and started having the conversation with the town engineer that it was kind of a dangerous situation and we wanted to provide a more secure and safe fishing access point for the public on this pond. And I think that through that conversation, that's how the 300 committee got involved, looking at all of Shiverick's Pond and improving all of this. And this is kind of a phase one of a larger project that this board is gonna see. You're gonna see some, a creation of the park on the parcel next door, so that will be coming shortly under a separate notice of intent. So this is kind of a master plan of this area. As Gabrielle alluded to, we've done some vista improvements. The town is going to be improving that roadway, adding a 10 to 12 foot shared bike and pedestrian lane on that side. So there's a lot of big improvements being proposed by the town over in this area. I don't have any questions or comments on the pier. I do, and Gabrielle, I'm sure Jed has mentioned this to you. There is a variance that needs to be requested from our regulations. It is FWR 10.532E3. It's our inland dock regs, our freshwater dock regs that say that either the L-shaped or the T-shaped or the float of a pier or dock cannot exceed 100 square feet. So we'll just need to either have you put a variance request in, Jed, but we will need to advertise for that. So we'll go ahead, we'll continue the hearing so we can legally advertise for that variance request. But I think that given it is a public project, it is meant to improve public access over this area, that the board could find that the project has an overriding public benefit and therefore can grant that variance request for the size of that L structure, for lack of a better term. The seasonal kayak launch, we wanted to include in this, just to make the board aware that is part of the project, but that will be coming to the board under an amendment at a future date. So even though it's shown on here right now, it's just to give the board the overall scope of the proposed access improvements so that when the town is ready to come in with that kayak launch, we can do so under an amendment. And that is all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Bergeron.
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
All
Just
right.
one more thing, Mr. Chairman. Mark Casper did flag the wetlands. So I will make sure he prints out his proper data sheets and provides them to us. I'm sure Mark's gonna love that.
All right. So has the variance been filed yet?
No, it has not. And I'll work with the project team to get that done.
But we need to do that before we could close this, correct?
Correct, because we have to advertise the variance request. That has to be legally advertised, and that was not done. So.
Okay. All right. And again, to be clear, the seasonal kayak thing is going to come back as an amendment at a later date,
Correct.
just so you don't get confused because it is on the plan.
Yeah.
All right. Commissioner comments. Maury, we'll start with you.
I think this is a great project. Seeing all the kids that go and fish off that little pier that's right off of Catherine Lee Bates, and it is a dangerous spot. I hope that they are going to include a crosswalk somewhere there so that people know that people are going to go back and forth. I think that it's a great public benefit. We have a school there. We have actually 2 schools there. All the people that enjoy the town to be able to go and walk down there in the 100 square foot variance. I think 100 square foot is not going to even scratch the surface of how this is going to be used in the future. And with the bike trail there, it's just a wonderful project for the town and for the community. Thank you.
Just to follow up on that, Maury, we did have a question by an abutter today on the crosswalk. I reached out to Jim McLaughlin, and he said as part of that, the improvements being made to Catherine Lee Bates Road, there will be plans to put in a crosswalk from where the new parking area the town acquired that that parcel where the parking is. But that will be done when they're doing those improvements to Catherine Lee Bates Road.
Yeah, because that's actually one of the biggest things when I go down Catherine Lee Bates to go to Eastman's Hardware. And especially, you know, when the kids are all out trout fishing and whatever, that you have to be really careful because you have no clue that there's that little landing, that little dock right there. And now with this new project, hopefully it's clear enough that people know when they buzz down that road. And maybe they'll extend that the safety signal from the school that it's a really high density area. And this will just increase the density in use, which is a good thing because it's a great project. But I just worry about people parking at behind the Eastman lot, not the town lot that they're proposing, but the Eastman lot, and just to make sure that it's safe. And not that that's a conservation issue, but it's a public issue and town issue. And it's a great project. Thank you. It's fun to see these.
It is. All right, Melissa.
Thank you, Jamie. It's a fantastic project. I love it. I'm glad this is finally hitting us and on the table here. I do have two quick questions. One is the walkway is 5 feet in diameter. I assume is that an ADA regulation? Because normally we do 4-foot walk paths. And I'm just wondering why 5 feet as opposed to 4 feet.
Gabrielle.
Gabrielle, you're muted.
Sorry. Are you talking about the paved walkway? Or are you
Yes,
talking
the paved
about
walkway? Yes.
the paved walkway? It could. I don't believe that was an ADA issue. I believe that was to be consistent with the walkway that's on the other side of the pond. So we were trying to design them the same.
Well, thinking about thinking about vegetation that's coming out, I don't know. How about this? This is a more important question. Are you going to use pervious pavement there?
That was a design issue that we brought to the town, seeing which way do you want to go. Jed, do you want to address that?
Yeah, please.
I can, yeah. So we did talk about the idea of pervious pavement. One of the issues with that is that the ongoing maintenance. And so that's something that our engineering division indicated that it would be better if we didn't have to maintain it. But I know that the town team is open to other pervious material that would meet ADA requirements. So by no means are we married to the idea of bituminous asphalt.
Well, you can please pass on a message to Peter McConerty that Freitag here is saying, hey, pervious pavement, he'll rule those on not again. I'd love to see some pervious pavement going in there at some point, or even right off the bat. It's, you know, we're improving the lake, yes, for public access, but we also want to keep the lake as healthy as possible and the environment as healthy as possible. So, and considering, you know, that the water just wants to flow from way over in Sitter's Pond over to Shiverick's Pond during a storm right through Town Hall, you might as well leave a little bit more land there pervious to absorb some water so that the water levels don't completely flood out the schools when the big storms come. But yeah, okay, maybe rethink the 5 foot in the pervious pavement. But other than that, I love it. Thanks for all your hard work, and thank you, Paul, for pushing this through. I know you're out there listening.
All right, Steve.
Thank you. We've been looking at this greater plan at the CPC for a while now. And my questions involve the future plans, but they're not germane to this discussion, although that doesn't seem relevant tonight. But I would like to say that this was the second phase. And the trail, and trying to get the trail all the way around the pond without walking in the street. And it'll be interesting. It'll be a great plan once we're all through with it. But this dock was surprisingly important to a lot of people. Maury had it right. I was flabbergasted at how many people wanted to use this. I have no question.
Okay. Courtney.
Succinctly, it's a great project. I approve. I can't add anything to anything anyone has said, particularly Maury. I think she's spot on. Thank you. Good project.
I agree. Kudos to the whole team. Thank you, Paul Dreyer. Kevin.
Did you? Oh, yeah, I just to echo everyone else, it's obviously a part of an even bigger, wonderful project that the town needs and should be congratulated for pursuing it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Melissa.
Thanks, Jamie. So am I to understand that the 5-foot width that Gabrielle said that, they just said that it matches the other side. Is this walkway going to go all the way around the pond eventually? Or is it just going to the dock here?
Yeah,
I
sorry.
think I'll take that.
We went through several different iterations of what our walkway design was going to be, and at one point there was a proposal to create a walkway that went all the way around, but due to the CPC funding and limitations, the town asked us just to design the walkway to get to the pier from Catherine Lee Bates Road. So at this point, we had to, just design this first section. Ideally, you would be designing the park, the full walkway, the pier, everything all at once. But, due to funding issues, we're doing it part by part. And our idea is that if we're matching what is to the south side, we're going to be able to be consistent with the design. And by the way, it is a very small change to go from the paving design that we have now to porous pavement. It's just a change in materials. So there's no change in the plan or the layout or the grade. It's just a change in the materials.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll repeal my my concerns about 5 feet versus 4 feet. How does that sound?
Okay.
That's it.
All right. All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Oh.
I guess the word was recant, not repeal, Jamie. Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, Alyssa has her hand raised.
Ms. Bergeron?
Just a comment to add to the record, there were 2 recommendations from DMF that should be considered. One is a time of year and one is your basic erosion control condition, just so the board's aware.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Maury?
No.
Okay. All right. Alyssa, if I skipped over you, that was unintentional. All right. What are we looking for? Are we
So, Mr. Chairman, we do have to advertise for that variance request. It's something that can be, I can work with Jed and the project team to get to the board by next week. I think the board is fully supportive of this project. If we could, did we already advertise for the 17th, Alyssa? We already did that.
It's due tomorrow morning.
Okay. I think we can put this on real quick.
a variance request?
Yeah, variance request, we can put it on the 17th and then open it. The board can vote the variance rate, hear the variance request. Obviously, the town's position is the town feels this is an overriding public benefit and should be granted that variance. And then we can close the hearing.
that same night or the next hearing, the
Yeah,
next
we'll
meeting?
close- We can close
night.
it. We can close it on the 17th and you vote it at a later date. That's fine.
Oh, we're getting slammed on the 17th, I guess is my point.
Oh, I mean, I didn't think this was gonna
Simple.
be very.
This
I
should
mean,
be-
just-
This should be quick if we get the variance, which
Mhm.
should be quick as well.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I would ask somebody to make a
I
formal
make a
request
motion
to
to continue this to,
hold on, I think we need a formal request from the applicant, correct?
Correct. So Gabrielle, Jed, or Eric, would you like to request a continuance to the 17th if that night works for you all?
That night works fine for me, and if Ty and Bond can be there,
That's fine.
Okay.
we request a continuance to the 17th.
Thank you. I know it's a formality, but there it is. Maury?
at the request of the applicant, we continue this to May 17th. Harlow.
Bird second.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until 5/17. If there's nothing further, all right, we're voting. Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks eye.
Melissa,
Right, tall guy.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until 5/17. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Next up, continued request for hearing under notice of intent. Michael and Mary Azaro, 0 Charles Lane, map and parcel ID number 25-02, 025-004A, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a single-family dwelling with a deck, porch, and patio to install a Title V sewage disposal system and to install restoration plantings. And for the record, the quorum excludes Kevin and Steve. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Tom Bunker up and Nick Crawford to present their project.
All right, Mr. Bunker, you're up, sir.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design. We did the surveying and engineering, and Crawford Land Management has prepared the planting plan for this project. When last we spoke 2 or 3 weeks ago, there were a couple of issues, and one, we had the wrong type of septic tank, and also they wanted some changes. You guys wanted some changes to the planting plan. So I'll share my screen and show the changes. So in our plan, we changed the planting. Well, we reflect what Crawford Land Management has put on their plan. And as staff noted, we also added, because CLM added more trees, so we have their trees noted on this plan. But we did not get into the type of burn or huckleberry sod. The septic tank that Jamie picked up is a H20 tank now, and that's also reflected on the profile on page 2. So that was our change. There was no other changes from our side, except that we, as I said, we changed the planting plan according to what they had, and so their plan, this area right here, this hatched area along the south and west, I think some along here was noted as a hay-scented fern, but now I can go into the maybe I'm doing Nick's work here. Maybe he won't have anything to say, but
That's okay.
Aelusacia baccata huckleberry. So there's no, I believe there's no hay-scented fern, just the huckleberry sod here, 1,200 square feet of it. And they added more selection of trees. I think it's because they took out, so this, the FG is the American beech. They took out these locust trees, which was one comment. They said that locusts are not native anyway. So they took these locust trees out and added other trees around them. I'm not sure the AC is, but if you need more explanation of the planting plan, I will leave it up if Nick wants to put the plan up.
Yeah, you can leave it up. So Nick Crawford from Crawford Land Management. I think Tom hit on all the highlights. We switched over the hay-scented fern sod to the native black huckleberry sod. Since there is already an existing overstory that adds a woody understory layer. We added 6 trees, 4 American beech and 2 American hornbeam. That ended up reducing the overall shrub quantity by 20 shrubs, just because we were giving the trees a 5-foot buffer around the trunk, a 5-foot radius around the trunk in order to, I'm sorry, not 5-foot radius, 5-foot diameter around the trunk that wouldn't be planted in order to not affect the root zone. Those are really the only changes. And we had talked to, I know that Jen at Crawford had talked to Jen Lincoln about switching the hay-scented fern to the black huckleberry. So, I hope, I saw that there were no staff comments. So if there's anything else that you'd like explanation on, I'm here to answer.
Will I stop sharing?
Thanks, Nick. Yes, sir. All right, Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think, I believe when Jen Crawford mentioned switching out the hay-scented fern to the huckleberry sod, that staff, was in agreement with that at the last hearing. So I have nothing to add.
Okay. Ms. Bergeron?
I also have no comments. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments. Let's see, Courtney.
No comments.
All right. I'll just say thank you for addressing all our concerns. Thank you for the revisions. Maury.
I only have 2 comments. I would like to see where they have the fescue lawn, the no-mow lawn seed mix from Prairie Nursery or Black Beauty fescue sod, that it's not going to be sod. And the second thing is, and this is just a comment, we're always about the 3-gallon or 2-gallon, 3-gallon, 3-foot on center. And on Tom's BSS plan, we see all the little dots that make it look like it's really going to be full. And then we go to the Crawford one and it's not really 3-gallon or 2-gallon, 3-foot on center. And I think we need to start being consistent, just like we were in that one on Lucerne, that if we want dense planting, that we don't have these little pockets that are 8 and 10 feet on center, that we just need to be more consistent. Tom's plan looks beautiful with all the little green dots all over it, which makes it look like it's going to be fully vegetated. And then the Crawford one, you just see these little pockets around the tree. So that's my only comment. And I think we have to be more consistent and no sod. So that's all. Thank you.
All right. Melissa.
Well, thank you for the upgrades and for the huckleberry sod in there. That will work. And those American beeches will be really pretty in the fall. So enjoy the golden color there. Other than that, it looks like you've approached everything that we had asked for last time.
Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, folks, what are you thinking?
I'll move that we close the hearing and take it under advisement. Freitag.
Bird, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Anything else? All right, we'll vote. This, again, the motion and the second is to close the hearing. Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Maury?
Carlo Hawks eye.
Melissa?
Freitag, aye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Bunker.
Thank you.
Great.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Night, Tom. Night, night.
Thanks, Nick.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, next up is vote order of conditions. First up, Gerald Good, 10 Rock Street, North Falmouth, Mass.
1 second, Mr. Chairman.
And for the record, the quorum excludes Steve. Steve, you're not on the next one either, so you really could take off if you wanted to. Not that we want you to, but. This is the raise and rebuild down in Silver Beach.
Yeah. I'm just figuring out my date here. Okay. So this was one of those Silver Beach. You heard from Teresa, so I think the board is satisfied with the wetland line. And I think other than that, we can condition Falmouth Engineering's plantings that are alongside the road. And the only thing I might want to see on this, which we don't have on the plan, is groundwater's pretty close to the surface over there. Some sort of write something in to condition for dewatering.
Okay. Anything anybody else wants to see in there?
The only thing I'd like to see is along that questionable wetland is maybe a little small split rail fence, because the limit of work is already encroaching on it. Just so it doesn't disappear.
Okay.
Ms. Bergeron.
There is mitigation being proposed in Zone B, so it would be good to condition that that's not going to be removed in the future.
And that should be protected as well, the single rail fence. Jen or Alyssa, is that a standard condition, the single rail fence?
Not a standard one. We usually
Standard.
just write it in.
I mean, I know, well, it's common, but I'm asking if it's standard. You know what I mean?
It's not written into your standard conditions. We write it in when you want it for your special ones, but you're right, it's very common.
We just want to make sure we ask for it.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's a great mechanism. Ms. Bergeron?
I agree, and especially considering how close they are to the road. I don't know what side of the mitigation you'd like the fence on. But it's a narrow road, so putting something there, whether it's a fence or boulders or just something where they can't get run over.
Spike strip, maybe? Never mind. Melissa?
Yeah, first of all, Alyssa, you had mentioned you don't know what side of the mitigation to put it all on. I think probably putting the fence or the boulders between the road and the mitigation will keep it from getting killed. But I'm just wondering if Jen, is it, this is a migrating area and it's swampy and it really wants to be a wetland. I mean, I guess it would be a side yard or maybe it's a backyard to this property, but the area to the north of the building and behind all the other buildings on the road, that was just to the north of it, where it sort of dips down, really wants to be a wetland. Can we get somebody out there just to test it and see it, or see if something's there? Because
They already did that.
no, they did that on the side where the Phragmites were and the drainage ditch was. That's on the, I'm trying, if that side of the property is on the east, then I'm thinking to the north, basically between the houses above. I don't have the plan in front of me. So not where the Phragmites were, but sort of beyond the shed and the two little fire pits that they had. There's this big open grassy area it just sort of divots down from. There's a whole bunch of houses on the road that's parallel to is it Rock Street?
I'm not sure we could require them to test anything now.
No, I don't want to require them.
Yeah.
I'm asking if conservation can just keep an eye back there, because we know, those of us who are watching sea level rise and stuff like that know that this is,
We'll
this
keep
is
our eyes on it, Melissa, and we'll go down while they're constructing and see what the dewatering situation is over there.
yeah, because it's really, I don't know, when I walked out back there, I thought,
I
oh my
understand your
gosh,
concern.
the whole thing I was sinking. So thanks. That's all.
We'll keep an eye
Amy?
on it.
Yes.
So just to help Melissa out, the first floor elevation is 16 feet and the ground elevation is at 4. So they're building the house up so that they're not going to be.
I know that. I'm thinking about the land that's not being built on, that's between them and the people on the other side. It just seems like, we've got a lot of land in town that's starting to become, that wants to become wetland, and eventually, marshes want to move, and
Well,
wetlands
actually,
wanna
this whole area was filled back in the.
I know.
60s,
So
So we're not going
So
to
this-
stop that.
no, we're not. And eventually all these houses will be hazards to navigation. We're going to have to.
We'll be dead then, don't worry.
Unless the big one comes like next year.
Hey.
Hey, I don't know. I don't know about you, or well, maybe the rest of you. I'm not quite that gray yet, or bald. So.
Wow.
Oh, that hurt.
Wow. All right,
Wow.
mute her. All right. You had something?
I got the grays coming in.
I'm going to make a motion
Hand raised.
to accept the order as discussed,
Bird second.
less the gray hair and baldness.
Probably lose it
Oh,
all next
man.
week, right? It's just gonna go.
Oh, man.
I
Yeah,
mean, I did it just to get you because I like you so much. I do.
imagine if you didn't. Wow. All right, moving on. So we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
Brian, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's eye.
the other commissioner?
Melissa, I.
Thank you. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Franciscan Friars Holy Name Province, number 2, Uncatino North, Falmouth, Mass. This was the one presented by that new guy,
Yeah, what's his
Tim
name?
something or other.
Yeah, Tim something. What was this?
And he was
Again,
new
for
to
the
me.
record, Steve's not on this quorum.
Proposed concrete landings, they're permitting for an enlarged flagged stone patio that we saw. They're installing some landscaping beds along the side.
They spread out the trees.
Jump in here and help me out. What am I missing?
They did address our concerns. They added trees and additional mitigation for that unpermitted patio and walkway. Those are really our main concerns. And
Yeah. I mean, we brought this concerns to Merrill and they addressed our concerns right away, so.
All right, anything anybody wants to see in there? All right,
Beautiful site.
I make a motion to accept as we discussed.
Bird second.
all right. We have a motion and a second issue in order of conditions as discussed. Anything else? All right, Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawks eye.
Melissa.
Right, tall guy.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. All right, folks.
Excuse me, Jamie. Should we try to do the minutes out of order? Just get them out of the way? Since we're all here now?
Again,
Excellent. Nice call.
at the beginning of the hearing, we had, we didn't have the quorum, so we kind of sort of informally tabled them, but we have minutes to vote for April 3rd.
So if I may, I'd like to move the minutes of April 3rd as written.
Bird second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of 4/3. Any questions or comments? All right, Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Isn't there?
Carla Hawks eye.
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Was I there?
No, this is
Fine.
the small
we're
meeting.
accepting minutes, please.
Okay.
Melissa,
Right, tall guy.
Steve,
Pat and I,
it is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes as submitted. Thank you, Kristen. And the next ones are minutes for 4/19.
I move to accept the minutes as written. Carla Hawks.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of 4/19. Any questions or comments? All right, Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin.
Should I vote or
You
not?
weren't there, you're not gonna vote, okay.
Okay.
Maury,
Stay.
Carla Hawks eye.
Melissa,
Right, tall guy.
Steve,
abstain, Pat.
thank you. All right, we still have a quorum. We have accepted the minutes of 4/19. Thank you, Kristen. A reminder, we are not meeting next week.
Oh, goodness.
We get a week off. All right. Last motion, who wants it?
I make a motion to adjourn. Carla
Bird
Hawks.
second. Bird second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Let me take a minute. No, never mind. Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Come on, Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Carla Hawks eye.
Right, tall guy.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great-